In today's show, we're talking about, you guessed it, Damian Lillard trade rumors. It's what we do, baby. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you Monday through Friday, every single weekday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, well... Today's show was supposed to be the Jusuf Nurkic season preview. We're running up to the start of the season. We're going to go through every player on the Blazers roster and do a preview of what they're going to bring to the team. And today's show was penciled in to be the Nurk show. I mentioned it on yesterday's episode. If you're an everydayer, you already know this was the Nurk show today. And to be totally just upfront with you, dear listener, you don't deserve to have to sit through 30 minutes of me talking about Jusuf Nurkic, and I don't want to do that right now. Let's talk about the more pressing stuff at hand. Nurk might not even be on the team. We'll see how it goes, but let's not waste either of our times. Let's instead have some fun today, or at least get some juicy goss going in on the show, and talk about sort of the latest whirlwinds from the Damian Lillard ongoing and perhaps ending at some point here in the near future, the Damian Lillard saga. Last week, we talked about it, that the Raptors were in on Dame. Talked about, the Raptors could put together an enticing package, but there's going to be some risks for them. Then over the weekend, it seemed pretty clear that the Raptors, it would be OG Anunoby would be the centerpiece of a Raptors trade, and along with Grady Dick, that was reporting from Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports, who first reported that would be the centerpiece of a Raptors trade if it involved requiring Damian Lillard. But over that same weekend, kind of in between, on Monday, I recorded that Sunday afternoon. On Monday, the news came out, reported by Matt Moore of Action News Network and the Locked On Podcast Network, that the Raps were maybe out. They were out on Dame. And so it's okay, maybe this was just, smoke that really heated up last week. And as this stuff kind of goes, it's close. It gets out. It leaks for whatever reason. And then things just die down, particularly with the Raptors, one of the least trading, most considering trading ass teams in the history of the sport. It seemed like it died down. But then more reporting has seemed to come up that the Raptors are indeed in. They're in. They are, whether they get it done or not remains to be seen, but they're in. They are very serious about, or at least have given the impression to the league and those that cover that they're very serious about acquiring Damian Lillard. So that's going to be what today's show is about. Kind of what the package looks like, what risk the Raptors have to undertake, and whether it makes sense for the Blazers as it's sort of been reported / speculated. I will say this just as a caveat. I do think reading comprehension is at an all-time low during these sort of trade frenzies. Anyone who's mildly informed and who speculates, people gravitate onto as they are reporting gospel from the mouth of Masai Ujiri or Joe Cronin or whomever it might be that you want to read or that you would like to hear from. Media literacy, not great around the Damian Lillard stuff. So let's see if I can parse some of it and help you understand where we're at while being respectful to my colleagues in the media. So, according to Mark Spears of ESPN, Toronto is the front runner. They are truly after it, and this is coming sort of on the heels of the reporting from Matt Moore that the Toronto's maybe they're not actually that in. Spears comes back and says they're in. This kind of happens around the league. It's people hear from different places. If it doesn't come to fruition, it doesn't mean that Moore was right and Spears was wrong. If it does come to fruition, it doesn't mean that Spears was right and Moore was wrong. It's just Things change quickly. But in that report from Mark Spears of Anscape and ESPN, he mentioned that the Heat and the Blazers just haven't talked very much, and that the Heat deal included Tyler Hero and 2 first-round picks. And this is like a media literacy I want to just point out here. That's not the only part of the deal, because it legally can't be done. That would be the featured part of the deal. It's basically the Heat are saying Tyler Hero is the centerpiece of the deal, and we're offering 2 first-round picks. Not a whole haul of picks. We're not going to unlock a third pick and try to get that OKC pick for you and get 3. We're not offering picks and swaps. 2 picks in Tyler Hero, and this happened, in July, and the Blazers said, yeah, that stinks. No thanks. But that's not the only part of the deal. It would have had to include salary matching, would have likely had to include some other players. Alone, it would have had to include Duncan Robinson or Kyle Lowry. Brian Windhorst reported last week that the Heat just maybe aren't that motivated to trade for Dame. And I think that's fine. I don't think the Heat are in the top tier of Eastern Conference contenders, but if you've made the finals and been as successful as they have been recently, and they're just so good at turning, G Leaguers into high-level NBA contributors in the playoffs, maybe the Heat are confident that they can do it again. And they probably have a track record to believe they can be. But if they're not serious about trading for Dame, and the Blazers are saying that package stinks, and again, the reported package from Spears is not the whole package. Media literacy here, dear friends. But if the Blazers don't like that, and the deal isn't getting any better, then the solution is obvious. You go find something else. The problem that I was sort of running up against in sort of my logic was what is the something else out there? Who is the other team that might be willing to do this? Because it has to be a certain type of team. I never considered the Toronto Raptors. I did not consider them that type of team. And yet, here they are. Seriously considering, according to a variety of sources, including locally in Toronto, where Ryan Wolstad of the Toronto Sun wrote a column that includes what I'll call informed speculation, not reporting on what the talks have been, but it's a column offering informed speculation of how the Raptors can offer a deal that might appeal to the Blazers that would also help them without mortgaging their future. It is a column offering an idea. It is not reporting. Wolves is plugged in. Probably good, solid speculation and a very reasonable, logical conclusion. It is not hard reporting on the deal. Media literacy. I'm giving it to y'all. I'm really harping on this because I read the internet before the show started, and I was blown away at the level of understanding folks have with how this stuff works. I don't know, read the source material, use your brain, or listen to Locked On Blazers, and I'll be mean about it in the opening segment of the show. That's the promise, is that I'll be mean to you, or at least I'll be harsh. But Ryan Wolstad reports that, or speculates, that the Blazers, have been linked to OG in the past. They were interested in OG Anunoby in the past. So a deal centered around OG Anunoby and Grady Dick, as previously reported by Yahoo Sports, would be the sort of centerpiece of it. And it would likely also include some quote from Wolstad, something like the 2026 Raptors first round pick. The Raptors owe a top 6, not lottery. Big difference. Top 6 protected pick to the San Antonio Spurs in 2024, 2025, 2026. So they couldn't trade an outright pick until 2028, but they're probably not going to be one of the worst 6 teams in the league next year. So that pick will convey, and then they would be able to trade their first round pick in 2026 and potentially other picks. They could trade 26 and 28. I don't think you're going to get 2 firsts, but you might get Grady Dick, an unprotected first, and a swap, as Ryan Wolstad speculates in his column as well. OG Anunoby, an unprotected pick in 2026, a swap in 27 or 28, whatever you end up agreeing to down the line. Grady Dick, money, the big guys to make the money work, so let's call it Precious Achiuwa. That is a pretty appealing package, at least on its face. OG Anunoby is good. Grady Dick is, a 6 foot. He's 6'8" and he can really shoot it. Coveted skill set, right size to play in the league. Precious Achiuwa sometimes looks like he's going to be really special, sometimes isn't. If you're not a Precious Achiuwa person and you really prefer Christian Koloko, sure, you can get another big one. You could even maybe make the money work and get Chris Boucher if you're an Oregon Duck listening to the program and you really want Boucher, Montreal zone. Probably have to get some salary filler in there too. Otto Porter Jr., Thaddeus Young. If the Blazers were to expand the trade, perhaps Gary Trent Jr. could be involved. At one point, last week, Jake Fisher had reported that OG Anunoby was going to be the centerpiece of a Dame swap, but he could be rerouted to Phoenix as part of the Blazers to make the money work for the Blazers to get DeAndre Ayton. I had mentioned on the show, on Monday's show, you're listening to Wednesday, September 27th show. Happy birthday, Dad. Big birthday for my father. Happy birthday, Dad. Thanks for listening. But you know, and I had said that I didn't know if I love moving OG, but I can see why the Blazers wouldn't be enamored with keeping him. And that's kind of what I want to talk about now. It seems like the Heat have not upped their offer from July. And it seems like the Blazers have moved on and found a real partner. But it is a real partner with a real offer that is truly appealing, albeit maybe not as sexy as you wanted Donovan Mitchell style. It's not 5 picks. But it's like a proven young, a flyer on a young pick, young recent draft pick and Grady Dick, potentially 2 firsts or a first and a right to swap one. Maybe you get a couple swaps in there, right? Maybe the Raptors bet on themselves and say, swaps, we're not worried about those. We're going to be good. But it comes with some risk for both sides. It comes with some risk. This is not a no-brainer. This is a deal that comes with obvious risk. Let's talk about the Raptors' risk now that the Heat maybe are out of this thing. And let's talk about why it may or may not make sense for the Blazers. That's what we'll do in the second and third segments. But before we get there, I want to tell you about Jase Medical. Look, everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so that you're not just hoping you have access to the medication in an emergency. Jase case makes sure you have that very medication in hand. Jase Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to get you started to the licensed pharmacy medication delivery so you make sure you can pick it up where you need to, plus the ongoing and consultation care that you're going to need. Don't get caught unprepared. Instead, check out Jase Medical and get $20 off life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right. So, I think the Raptors deal is legitimately very enticing. And if you're a longtime listener to this program, which hopefully a lot of you are, if you're not and you're new to the program, become a longtime listener. Become it every day. We do this 5 days a week. It's the only daily Trailblazers podcast. If you made it to segment number 2, I bet you'll enjoy the show. The Raptors have an enticing deal. But if you're a longtime listener, I got sidetracked from my own trying to hook you into listening to the show. I got sidetracked, lost my train of thought. But the Raptors have this intriguing deal, and I hadn't pegged them as a team that was going to be in the mix, right? I didn't think they were going to be in the mix because I thought it was going to be contenders. The Raptors trading for Damian Lillard, I don't think they are top-tier inner circle contenders by trading for Dame. And it's been pretty clear by Damian Lillard's people behind the scenes through some back channels, he doesn't want to go there. But Toronto may be willing to take this risk. You can equate it to the Kawhi Leonard thing. It's not the same thing. Kawhi was a Finals MVP at the time. He had 1 year remaining on his contract. It was basically like, if this doesn't work out, we can be another thing in the future. And this is like I think he was certainly younger, but just like a better basketball player at the time than Dame is right now. Dame's great. He's really, really, really good. I don't mean to undersell him. I'm a pretty big believer in Damian Lamont, Ollie Lillard, but he's just not what Kawhi was heading into the 2018-19 season. I think it's just factual. He's not. A little healthier. shoots from further away, but it's not the same thing. So while the Raptors maybe have taken a similar risk in the past, I don't think it's 1-to-1. And I don't think trading for Dame puts them in the inner circle of contenders. But I don't think the baseline or the sort of litmus test for trading for a player should be, does this make our team is this make us immediately a championship level team? It's not a zero-sum game. I know there are people who believe that. Like I think Nate Duncan is one of the smartest people who covers this league, and I think he believes that. He believes that you make moves to win a championship, and if you're making moves that get you short of a championship, it's a mistake, and you got to build towards that. And like getting caught in the middle is bad. I probably disagree with that. I think the point of building a basketball team is to have good players on it and give yourself a puncher's chance. Are the Raptors in the inner circle of contenders? No, they're not. I don't think so. I don't think they're better. I don't think with this trade, like a version of this trade that gives them a core of Scottie Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Damian Lillard, and Jakob Poeltl, I don't think that 4-player core is better than what Boston has, and I don't think it's better than what Milwaukee has when Milwaukee is at full strength. I think they would be immediately on the tier or probably above, but right in that same range as Philly, right? If everything goes right and you really squint, it's not that hard. You don't even have to really squint. Mild squint, you could see them making the NBA Finals. Sure. I think Toronto would be that good. It's Dame plus length. It's the thing that Blazer fans have been screaming forever, right? What if Dame just played with big old skilled forwards? Like, what if he just played next to players that were really just a lot bigger than him and could defend and make plays and do the things that Scottie Barnes and Siakam could do? And you got a defensive anchor in Poeltl who's going to be a great pick and roll partner with Dame if they end up on the same team. Like, yeah, it's yeah, yes, they would be a really good team. There's no doubt about it. I don't think you have to be in the inner circle to make the deal. But it comes with some risk because Pascal Siakam can walk next summer. If Dame doesn't enjoy it, then you end up in a place like the Blazers where Dame is saying next summer or whenever it might be, I want to play somewhere else, get me out of here, and then you've taken a risk and it hasn't worked out. Sometimes you got to do it. And I think the Raptors are in a unique position where they truly have to make this move. Not have to. That's overstating it. The Raptors are in a unique position where they have seen the challenges of holding on too long. Kyle Lowry walks. I mean, he ended up being a sign and trade, but he basically walks for nothing. Fred VanVleet walks for nothing. I guess Kawhi walked, but he was always probably going to, and that was part of the inherent risk. You could throw Marc Gasol if you're really a hater in there. Marc Gasol walked. Ended up joining the Lakers after played a season and then the half season in the COVID year in the bubble year, and then he walked. They have a chance to have Gary Trent Jr. enter free agency this summer, Pascal Siakam enter free agency this summer, and OG Anunoby as a player option. He's certainly going to opt out of and enter free agency, become an unrestricted free agent. It's like, if you don't make this move, if you don't make a move, you have a chance to have this era walk out the door on you. And while Masai Ujiri has been someone who has long been rumored to get close on deals, he's Danny Ainge North. Getting so close to making the big deal. Offered 5 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby by the Memphis Grizzlies, but didn't pull the trigger. So close, so many times. The Pascal Siakam to Atlanta stuff that was rumored. Like there's just the OG to Portland last 2 drafts ago on draft night when it was going to be OG and number 7 for the Blazers, right? Close but no cigar. If Masai Ujiri doesn't make a trade and it just gets stuff that gets talked about loudly in the media for 10 days and it just doesn't happen, that wouldn't surprise you. It's happened before. But I think in some ways what has happened over the last few seasons, say 3 to 4 seasons for the Raptors, and the potential to lose more players of this core in free agency this summer if they were to walk. I don't think Pascal will. I bet if he's still Raptor, he'll resign. But OG and is almost certainly going to leave because if they prioritize Scottie and Pascal, there isn't just the natural room for him as a to be that guy. I think there's enough evidence to suggest that he wants to spread his wings a little bit more. And if Gary Trent Jr., who opted in, thought he was going to leave this year, but opts in and then walks, and you have to lose him twice after, have a chance to lose him twice. Is that worry enough for the Raptors to pull the trigger on this and even sweeten the deal beyond just OG, Grady Dick, and a first-round pick and the money to make it work and swaps? I think there's incentive there. There's risk for the Raptors because Dame might not want to be there, and it doesn't guarantee you a championship. It guarantees you to be one of the 3-4 best teams in the East. You got to stay healthy. You're still not going to be super deep. Depth will be a problem, but you're going to be good. That's going to be a good basketball team. There's risk for the Raptors. But there's also risk on the other side. There's risk for the Blazers. I think Portland, to me, this deal is a good deal, but it doesn't totally make sense to me. Let's talk about why I'm not confused by it, but I think it is, like, I get it, but there is part of it that is puzzling to me. Let me try to unpack that puzzle for you in the third segment. Why this deal isn't super clean in my eyes for the Blazers potentially trading for OG Anunoby. That's what we'll do to close the show. Join me in that third segment, won't you? Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Okay. So we talked about the Raptors' risk. But there's some inherent risk here for the Blazers as well. The very, very basic part of this is that OG Anunoby has a player option that he's going to opt out of and enter unrestricted free agency and go get a whole bunch of money. But the Blazers will have his bird rights. If there's one thing Joe Cronin has done, it's give dudes he has bird rights on a lot of money. Congratulations to Jusuf Nurkic and Jeremy Grant. That's the basic risk, right? Is that you're trading for a guy that might walk. But sure. Like, I think there is enough incentive, and OG Anunoby is like exactly the right type of player who would fit with the young guards and next to Jeremy Grant and like make like a formidable team. That the risk, which like give him 82 games for the Blazers, let him figure out if he enjoys the city, enjoys the system, and then let him figure out if he enjoys like $125 million or whatever it is. Give him the money's going to talk, right? If the Blazers can offer him the most money and the longest contract, guess what they'll do to keep him? This is what non-glamour market teams need to do. They offer the most money and the longest contract, and the Blazers, with his bird rights and with as the incumbent team, will have the opportunity to do that. The flight risk doesn't worry me too much. It's actually the other part. Part of my perception of a Dame trade was that the Blazers were going to get what teams usually covet when they are trading players. And that is young players on team-controlled contracts, like cost-control contracts, draft picks, and expiring money, like get out from under some money. If the Blazers were to trade for OG Anunoby and offer him a fat contract, and I don't even know off the top of my head what it would be, but like Jeremy Grant money, let's just call it that, 5 for $160. You're not doing the thing that a rebuild typically includes. You're kind of locking into a core. And let's even go further, right? Let's go to the Blazer fans' dream Dame trade scenario. The Blazers strike a deal with Phoenix and Toronto. They acquire OG Anunoby, and as part of that deal, they get Gary Trent Jr. They reroute him to Phoenix. They send Gary Trent and Jusuf Nurkic to Phoenix. The Blazers get back DeAndre Ayton. Suns get what they want. They turn DeAndre Ayton's money into 2 playable players who can play in the playoffs. 2 Blazer legends. Blazer bubble legends. Shout out to Disney. The Blazers get DeAndre Ayton. They get OG Anunoby. They get Grady Dick. They get draft picks. This rocks. Miami, you screwed up so bad. How can you screw this up so bad? You let the Blazers get out on the market and find a real deal, and they found a real deal, and they just... Ooh, it must be tough. I think the Heat will be all right. But I want to be a hater. That's like a dream scenario, right? That's a dream scenario. A couple of you have emailed me about it. Actually, a lot of you have emailed me fake trades over the last week, and I have ignored them because I am protecting my peace. So if you have emailed me a fake trade to lockedonblazers.com or lockedonblazers@gmail.com, and I've lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. That's the email address. If you've emailed me one there and I've ignored it, yeah, I'm doing my best, y'all. But I got a lot of Dame trade stuff in my brain. If the Blazers do that I think that, like, on the very basic surface level, would be a kick-ass job by Joe Cronin. A kick-ass job by Joe Cronin. But it would be a little bit odd. You got DeAndre Ayton on a max contract. You have Jeremy Grant on this big old contract. You have, best case scenario, you have OG Anunoby on this big old contract. And you're kind of locked into your group in like one season, right? Now, you can trade players. It's not forever. But I don't know that Jeremy Grant's going to get you back the things you want in a trade. You don't sign OG Anunoby to then trade him, a year later or whatever, right? Like you trade Dame for OG Anunoby and sign him to a bunch of money because you want to be part of the plan. DeAndre might be really good if he gets out of Phoenix. I'm not sure that I don't think he's going to be like this, like, surefire all-star once he's freed from the shackles of the desert. But like, I think there's a chance that his game is, with a little more room, I think he could be better. Like, I think there could be more to him just in like a better setting, right? Just a new setting, change of scenery could unlock some of what he does. That team might even like be a low level, like a team of Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, OG Anunoby, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, with Shaedon Sharpe and Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench, along with, let's call it Precious Achiuwa, Grady Dick, and Nazir Little, and Jabari Walker. Like, that team is going to be in the play-in. Like, that team's like, they're not at the bottom of the West. It's a chance they miss the play-in, sure. But like, you could probably close your eyes and talk yourself into that team just outright making the playoffs. I know you believe. Typically, when teams rebuild, they want to spend a couple years down in the trough. I've talked about this in the past. If this is year 3 of the rebuild, perhaps the Blazers think they're on the rise. And these types of move this summer would allow them to get out of the trough quickly, not end up as a bottom 5 team in the league and, hunting for a top 3 pick in the draft. Is that a good idea? I don't, I think I've been clear on the show that I haven't enjoyed the tanking seasons, like that. They have not been fun for me. But I think it's like objectively usually the right strategy. And I also think that it is against my spirit to say, hey, don't build a pretty good team. Don't do it. But I think I've watched enough of the Blazers over the last 10 years that I've been doing this professionally, and a little bit longer when I was just someone who liked the NBA, but no one was paying me to watch it, to have real concern about building a darn decent team quickly and getting caught in the middle. And the horse is so freaking far out in front of the cart in this segment. Like, it is so, like, I can't even see the damn cart. The horse is gone. We left the cart at the beginning of the episode. But I think the dream scenario for Blazer fans, and I think it is a fun dream scenario that you should dream and enjoy it and all of those things. It strikes me as an odd approach to the rebuild. Would it be fun? Hell yeah. I would enjoy the heck out of it. But it strikes me as a path back, a pretty aggressive path back to the middle. Unless Scoot Henderson is a star, and then you have built this really solid wing core of veterans around him. And if he's ready to go in year 2 or year 3, you are like, if he's a star in year 3, right? If he's like an all-star in year 3, you've got a locked in, like, really solid team around him. And maybe all of a sudden it makes perfect sense. But it strikes me as a little bit odd. Just not the path that I thought they would go on the rebuild. But I thought that Dame was going to get traded to the Miami Heat. And certainly that still could happen. Certainly it could still happen. The Heat could come out and find a late inning miracle. But it does seem like the Heat are out and that the Blazers are pursuing other trades. And that other trade could include OG Anunoby, and it could include DeAndre Ayton. And then you've got young players entering their physical prime, potentially on long-term deals locked up. It's kind of what you want when you're building a team. It's just not the path I thought they would go, and it does challenge some of your future flexibility. But typically flexibility just means we're going to be bad because we don't have an opportunity to be good. Maybe an opportunity to be good is right here, right away, and you can pivot off Dame into what's next. I like it. I am a little puzzled by it. It's like one of those, what this is, and I'll leave you with this bad metaphor. Back in the 90s, you could go to the mall and they would have Magic Eye pictures just up in like a kiosk in the mall. It'd be like it would be like the kiosk that sells, right around this time of year, it'd be like the kiosk that sells calendars. But they would also sell posters that would go in your dorm room. I grew up in a college town, so maybe this is unique to that. But like, they would also have Magic Eye posters, and you could stare at them, and maybe it would be a dolphin jumping over a waterfall if you got your eyes to unfocus the right way. This Blazers trade thing is kind of like one of those Magic Eyes. I'm staring at it. I feel a little cross-eyed, but I do see a pretty cool dolphin and waterfall. And I'm like, yeah, OG Anunoby and DeAndre Ayton would be tight. It's weird, but it would be one heck of a haul. Okay, I waded so far into the I don't get it speculation waters with that dolphin and that waterfall that I've got to get out, and because usually I try to keep the show somewhat rooted in reality. But we're having fun. Promised you fun at the beginning of the show. Got to fun at the end. Am I going to do a Jusuf Nurkic season preview on tomorrow's episode? I doubt it, y'all. It's certainly on the calendar, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to do another show tomorrow because we do them 5 days a week. But this has kind of thrown a wrench in my plans to the point where I can't tease what's next. So I'll tease you this. Tomorrow's show will be in your feeds, however you listen to this, or if you're watching on YouTube. It'll be fun. You'll enjoy it. Tell your friends. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.